I don't cover coins as much as I should do because often you find some really, really interesting images on them. And this is one such instance. So this is a coin which dates to around 476 BC and was issued by the tyrant, a tyrant rather, called Anaxilas. And he was a tyrant of Region. Now, Region is on the tippity toe of Italy. It's now Reggio Calabria. But back then, obviously, things were different. And this was actually part of his propaganda. In fact, both of these images are about him and his success. And I'll talk about each of them individually. So I think I'll start with the one right above me. Bit clearer. Hopefully you can make out what it was. And you could probably work it out yourself, to be honest with you. It's an individual driving a car. And you can see there that what you might be able to make out, there's actually two mules. They're not horses, they're mules, because it actually relates to an Olympic event. Now, when we think about the Olympics, often we think of the race or the chariot race, as it were, those kind of things, boxing, other stuff. But in fact, when it came to equestrian events, there are a number of them. And in fact, there was one which this refers to, which was a mule cart race. You had a pair of mules and a cart and a driver. All of those you can see in the coin. And it's thought either 484 or 480 BC, Anaxilas sponsored his mule cart and the driver and, basically the team. And they won. So this was him celebrating his Olympic success. Just as an aside, it's important to remember that the games at Olympia, the Olympic Games as it were, they changed. There wasn't a fixed agenda. They swapped things in, swapped things out, and this is one great example. So the mule cart race, the Apennine, apparently started around 500 BC, but then it was dropped around 444 BC. I don't know why. It seems a lot of fun. This image is slightly different, but thematically it has a connection to the image on the other side, as is often the case, to be honest with you, with coins. After all, this was a tyrant, and if you're a tyrant, you want great propaganda. So on one side of the coin, you have a story about your success, i.e. the games at Olympia, where he'd won in that mule cart race. And on this side, something else about him, and this relates to a story about Anaxilas, namely that he introduced the hare to Sicily. Now, you're probably thinking, hang on a sec, Sicily, where does Sicily come into all of this? Well, fair point. It comes into all of this because, as you've probably now worked out, he then conquered part of Sicily. Well, he actually managed to capture one city in Sicily. Today it's known as modern-day Messina, and he actually renamed it Messina. Prior to that, it had been called either Zancle or Zankel. Always get my pronunciation wrong with that, so apologies. And he renamed it that because apparently he came from Mycenae, a region in the southern Peloponnese of Greece. One coin then, but two very different stories, each pertaining to a different aspect of Anaxilas, which again was what tyrants did. And I think, aside from the fact that it was anyone's coin in particular, they're two really, really good images. If you like this kind of stuff, don't forget, you can click follow, drop me a comment, ask a question, whatever you fancy.